Welcome to the second video in this series, The Character of the Communist Mode Production According to Marx and Engels. Today we'll be going over the 1844 piece by Marx, Comments on James Mill, Elements d'Economie Politique. I've subtitled this, Communism Achieves Humanization, Ends Alienation and Oppression. Let's talk about what that means with my summary of this text. This section of Marx's larger Paris notebooks addresses the bourgeois economist James Mill, before addressing a, quote, larger, more tangential thought, namely developing his, what I would term, post-humanist conception, discussing alienation, the division of labor, human nature, what he sees as the potential of communism as the associated mode of production, which is a true human community that socializes mankind. To Marx, human nature is synonymous with the true community of men, which is produced by the essential nature of each individual with their activity, life, spirit, and wealth. It arises out of the need and egoism of individuals produced by their essential nature as people exchange activity and production's products with one another, and not through changing one's individual perception of their condition. It is materially and socially achieved. This puts him at immediate odds with the entirety of idealist philosophers who saw the ego and spirit as achieving humanization despite material conditions as individuals. In order for this true human community to arise, what fundamentally must end is alienation, or the estrangement of mankind from this true community. Alienation makes the community we have, the Gesellschaft, historical society, of the given era, impossible to reach for humanity because our human nature as social producers within reality has been disrupted by the capitalist mode production and in previous modes of production. It is not life-fulfilling or spiritually, intellectually, or socially stimulating, and being involved in the production process does not produce wealth for yourself, that is to say, increase in leisure time or real use values. Instead, it produces exchange values for someone else. In fact, production in capitalism abolishes the self. With the more one labors, the less they are able to live. The products the producer creates rules over the creator, and the wealth of one person becomes the poverty of another. Other human individuals become threats to be competed with or inessential, with humans measured and quantified in accordance with principles external to human society. Rather, it is something else that does the deciding about what has value and what does not. The real God, that is capital. All social power is alienated onto this social process out of the hands of the people subjected to that process. Capitalism itself produces this alienation through its basis in private property, which necessitates that someone can lose their property through exchange. Thus, all property is alienated, equivocated, and extracted from its own physical character to become a reflection of all other commodities. All products of human labor, and nature itself upon being rendered into usable form by human labor, lose their personal character, unique existence, and unity with themselves in exchange for unity with all other commodities. Because commodities rule over producers, and commodities are reflected in all other commodities, the producer becomes ruled by all commodities. This process is and results in commodity fetishism. Private property leads to production no longer being for the actual product, but rather for the ability of it to be exchanged. Thus, the social labor that is put into producing it becomes alienated and externalized. Through our own commodities, labor becomes alienated in the act of production and consumption. In addition, exchange of products of human labor in turn produces mutual exchange of the activity of production. This creates a new form of social division of labor, which converts man from a universal and complete human into one who is shaped into a tool for a particular mental and physical kind of labor in the hands of the capitalist and the market, discarded when no longer fit. Communism negates this, bringing the Gesellschaft into a new form, from the society of individualism and competition, along with impersonal relations driven by economic self-interest, into the Gemeinschaft, the true human community of cooperation, solidarity, and shared purpose wherein labor, which is a manifestation of human nature, is synonymous with passion and wealth for the individual in and through society, resulting in one in which there's true, total humanization, Alienation is abolished, regenerating the conditions of social metabolism as property is held in common by all. In this new society, no one loses personal command over anything they produce, while also having access to all products of society through the Gemeinschaft Reichtum, or Commonwealth, excuse me for my German. All products of society lose their dual character and become unique existences, and, through the abolition of exchange, the abolition of the social division of labor finally becomes possible. The abolition of exchange in turn requires the abolition of private property, which creates a society of associated producers. A mode of production that is based on the free and equal associated producers is, according to Marx, necessarily one which affirms all parties in the production process, while objectifying each other their individualities in a sensuous manner, allowing for the producers to recognize the product's use in the hands of the user, thus understanding the social nature of their labor. This allows them to fulfill themselves socially, intellectually, and spiritually. In turn, the product is known to the consumer, and the consumer is known to the producer. This also requires that the associated producers have direct relations with one another, without any mediator between them such as commodities, or money, or exchange. Under these circumstances, labor becomes personal and concrete, rather than abstract and homogenized through exchange. Production in this society is for what is considered useful for the true community, which is solely for 1. Life activity, in this relation passion, which fulfills an individual spiritually, socially, intellectually, or physically. This production is done socially and for personal and specific reason. And 2. Wealth for society and the self through society in the form of leisure time and use values for the commonwealth. It is reciprocal. The individual produces for society, and the society in turn produces for the individual. In such a society, man and man, man and nature, and man and community are all unified in relation to one another, and in and through this unification, the individual reaches full development. Thus, labor becomes a free manifestation of life, and as such, life's prime want, through the end of alienation. It ceases to be something avoided and considered solely for subsistence by way of subjecting oneself to another. As such, communism regenerates the social metabolism through the ending of alienation, which brings back the true community of mankind. It does this by the abolition of private property, which results in the end of exchange, division of labor, and unifies man with his conditions with all other producers and the products of society. Labor then becomes life's prime want, as it becomes passion itself and in and through society. All individuals thus reach full development to their highest form. And this is the end of my summary of the 1844 piece by Marx, Comments on James Mill, Elements de l'Economie Politique. If you'd like to go over the quotations I derived this summary from, then please feel free to go to the description below and access the shared Google Doc containing this. And also potentially consider joining the United Marxist Pact Discord server, also linked. Tomorrow we will be going over my summary of the 1844 piece again by Marx, Economic and Philosophic Manuscripts of 1844, Private Property and Communism. Thank you for joining me for today's topical summary, and I hope to see you tomorrow.